Alright, hi everyone. So in this video we're gonna learn all about creating symbols. So we have our drawing here of all the three views: front, 3/4, and also side. Alright, what we're gonna do is, in order for it to be animated properly using twins in Animate, in Adobe Animate, you will need to turn the drawings into symbols, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. So I'm going to do the first one. I expect you to do the rest, but the first one, if you follow it closely, and if you don't, you can always rewind the video and try to really understand how symbols work in Flash. Yeah, without further ado, let's start. So all my drawings at the moment, as you can see here under properties, they are all a group. As you can see here, they're groups. That the head is a group, that is a group, that is a group, and that's a group as well. This is a group that contains just the head. This is a group that is just the face, and so on. So our job here is to really look at it closely and decide what should be a symbol and what should be separated from one or the other. But if you've basically, I kind of separated it nicely for you, including the face, but maybe at some point there will be instances where I might actually have some of this to be inside of another thing, like the face could actually be inside of the head. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so let's do this. To create a symbol, you will need to go to modify and convert it to symbol. Yeah, so with anything selected, say this group here, if I press F8, it will convert that into a symbol. So let's do this for the head now. So I'm gonna go to modify, convert to symbol. Shortcut is F8. So whenever I say convert it to symbol, I'm pressing F8 on the keyboard. Click that. So it's gonna ask you what type of symbol do you want. We always want it to be a graphic. Yeah. And then let's just name it. So I like to start with the name of the character first. I put it in caps or not, depending on what you want. How you prefer, but I always start with the character and then put an underscore and then specify what view is this is. So I'll say it's front, and what is the body part? We'll say this is the head, and that's all you need. You can, if you want, you can put a numbering there at the end, 0, 1, for a reason. Because if you were to duplicate this later in the library, if you see it as an O2, that means you can be sure that that's a duplicate. So this numbering actually does help. So I always put an O1. Now then we have this, which is called the registration. This is going to determine where the pivot is going to be. So depending on how you animate that thing, like for the head, maybe the head might squash and stretch from the bottom, so you might want to have the registration down at the bottom. It all depends actually, but we can always change this later on. But this is a convenient way to determine where our registration, where our pivot is when you convert a drawing into a symbol. So everything's good here. I'm gonna copy that because I'm gonna need that, and hit OK. Copy is Ctrl+C, by the way. Alright, so the moment you turn it into a symbol, it will sit at the very top. If I move this, you see that the face is still there, but it is behind our head. So I'm gonna undo that, put it back there. That's okay, we can arrange things later on. But if it bothers you, you can always right mouse button and say arrange, send it backward. So it'll be back, will be sent backward one step. Alright, so if I select this, remember we've converted it into a symbol. Alright, So the moment you turn it into a symbol, you'll see under properties here, that's hard to see, so let me just click and drag and pull it up. So you see here we have the properties window floating, and we have the library. You can also make the library float if you want, but I'll leave it there. Anyway, if you hover your mouse here, it says fin_front head 01, which is it means that what we've selected here is an instance of this. And what is this? This is a symbol, and that is located here inside of library. See, that's my fin_front01. Since this is an instance here on the stage, I can actually grab another instance and more instance by just clicking and drag and bringing it in. I can also, if I want, I can select all these, delete it, but it will never delete the symbol that you created here in the library. Even if I deleted this, see, it is still here, and I can still bring it back in and, you know, rearrange it and have it there still. So once you've created something into a symbol, it will remain in the library like forever, until the point you actually say, I want to delete this from the library itself. Then that will be gone. And if you do that, see that it's going to delete every single instance in the canvas. Get that? So let me undo whatever I did earlier. Alright, so we're back here. So the library is a convenient way to have all our symbols organized. So once you convert it into a symbol, it will always remain there. So we're gonna keep on doing the same thing for all of the body parts, and from there we'll convert all of that into a character. Alright, let's do the next one. Here's the face. It is a group. I'm gonna just hit F8. Remember, F8 is that thing, convert to symbol. Alright, so we're gonna do the same thing. Let's just follow that naming convention. So it's fin front face 01. You can, like I say, you can select that and Control-C to copy. Where's the registration? Also, that should be down there in the middle. It's a graphic, hit OK. Now that is a symbol. So we can continue. This is pretty basic actually. So but the second part, that's gonna be a bit hard. Alright, so here, same thing, F8, paste that in. This is the body -01. Registration, I'll just say the middle is fine. So when you convert that drawing into a symbol, as you can see here, it'll show up at the top. Again, we can always rearrange this later, so I'm not gonna do that because I want to save time. So I'm gonna do this now, F8, paste that in. So this is going to be the backpack. Alright, here's where things are a bit different. We have to specify which side this is. Is it the right or left? You can use fins left, but to make it easier, you can also say this is screen right. So I'm gonna use screen right instead of his left. Okay, so I'll say backpack right -01. Alright, so where should it be? I'll just leave it there, or maybe here to the side, whatever. Hit OK. Cool. Let's do the arms. Same thing, F8, paste that in, fin front. This is the arm. Alright. Oh, this is a bit tricky, but that's okay. Yeah, this is a bit tricky because the arm needs to be separated. You gotta specify which one is the top arm, which one is the lower arm. Some people go to the extent of doing the hands, but I'll just split it into two, yeah? Because Finn's gonna have poses like this, even though he is quite bendy. So, to do that, I'm gonna Control-C and copy this first. Then I'll press F8, is fin front upper arm. What did I use? Dash R01. Okay. It should be at the top here, so I'll just put it somewhere there and hit OK. Alright, cool. So we have that in, but this shouldn't be like that. Why? Because we're supposed to cut it down here. Yeah, so I'm gonna do just that. So this is a group. I'm gonna Control G, so I create a new group, use my line tool with a stroke set as red. I'll cut about that much. My snapping is on, so let me just switch it off, because when I'm doing things like this, I like to have snapping off. Anyway, so I have a line there, so I'll exit this group by clicking here. Alright, so this is a group as well. So what I think I'll do is I'll select both of them and I will break it apart. Shortcut is Ctrl B. So now that it is broken apart, I can select this. I'll select this as well as that, hold shift and delete it. And then because this is red, you can select it on its own and delete it. And it looks like that now. I'll just extend that so that it'll have a nice overlap later on when I'm creating the lower arm. And we'll exit this symbol and you have that. Now, do you remember that I copied earlier? Ctrl C, so I'm gonna paste it again. See, if I Ctrl V, we get the same arm that we copied earlier. It's still a group, so it's still in our clipboard. I want to Ctrl V and paste it, but I don't want it to be floating wherever, so I'm gonna undo. What I want to do is I do want to paste it, but I want to paste it in place so that it stays at the same spot where I copied it. So I'll say paste in place. Shortcut is Ctrl Shift V, and therefore it will sit there. Alright, cool. So now this is going to be our lower arm. Yeah, so I'm gonna F8 that. I'm gonna use the same naming convention, so it's fin front. Now it's gonna be lower arm dash R dash O1. The registration should sit somewhere here, so I'll just say there. Yeah, hit OK. Alright, so this is my lower arm, but it's a full arm, so we're gonna have to go in. We're gonna do the same thing, so I'm gonna Ctrl G with my line tool. I will cut somewhere here, maybe, or a bit higher maybe, so let's just put it there. But I can't really decide. Maybe here. Here's fine, I guess. Maybe I'm doing it too high. I think I'm doing it too high. I'll say that is okay actually. So I'll have to redo the other arm. So I'll go here. Yeah, I certainly have to redo the other arm. Right. So select all. We're gonna break it apart. Ctrl B. Can delete this now. I'm gonna delete all of that now. Double click. And yeah, like I said, I'm gonna redo that part because I think it's too short. Alright, that looks okay. Go outside. Here's the previous one, which is called fin front upper arm. So I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna paste back that in place. Ctrl Shift V. So I'm gonna have to do this again for the upper arm. So fin front. Oh, be careful. If you're gonna redo, see, it already has upper arm here. Remember I say every time you create a symbol, it will always be there. So I'm gonna click cancel. Let's just delete the previous upper arm first. So I'm gonna delete that. Sweet. Alright, we'll go back to this symbol, which is a group. I'm gonna F8 that, and now we do it properly. Fin front upper arm right O1. Should be about there, so I'll just put it here, hit OK. Sweet. to go in to the symbol, into the symbol. For this, I'm gonna break it part first. So I'll go modify, break it part. Why? Because I just want to delete the fill, because I want to see where that border is. So I see it's about there. So with that decided, we know the border is there, the lower arm. So I'm gonna Control G, use my line tool. I'm gonna cut about here, right? And then we go outside here, inside of this symbol. Alright, so I'm gonna select that, Control B to break it apart. Then this will be upper arm, so I'm gonna delete that, delete all of that as well. Oh, hold on, gotta fill it in first. So I'm gonna go outside because I don't have this color. So I'm gonna use my eyedropper tool. I'll sample that color, so we get that inside of the fill. I'm gonna go back, hit selection tool, go back in. Use my paint bucket tool, shortcut is K, fill that in. Alright, now we're good. Select that line, delete that. Just for good practices, we'll just extend it. Or maybe we'll go that way. If not, it'll cover that stroke, so that's not nice to see. So I'm gonna make it go that way. Alright, cool. Go outside. And it's a nice and seamless thing. So you have the upper arm here and the lower arm there. Alright, so I'm gonna continue with the legs, and it's basically the same thing. This is still a group because that's how we drew it earlier. So I'm gonna copy that, Control C. Again, if you don't get it, I did this, I Control C, copy it, so it sits in my clipboard. So I'm gonna F8 this. We will say this is fin, leg, oh sorry, upper leg, upper leg. This is our right, 0, 1. Alright, I'll sit up here, so I'll just say there maybe, or maybe here. Yeah, so that corner, and hit OK. Cool. So I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna Control G. We're gonna cut the leg. Use my line tool. I'll say it's about here. Yeah, that looks about right. Go outside. I'm gonna select all of that. I'm gonna Control B to break it apart. Since this is upper leg, it means that we don't want all the stuff down here. And we'll just select that, delete, and I'll just curve that so that it blends nicely later on. Cool. Because we already have that copied, we're gonna paste it in place so we get the same group again. We'll F8 this, we'll say this is fin, lower leg, R, sorry, dash R dash 01. Alright, registration should be about here actually. So I'll just say center, hit OK. Alright, cool. So it's there. I'll double click. We're gonna cut this now. But before that, I'm gonna go in and delete that fill because I need to know where the border is. So Control G, so that now you're in an empty group. We'll cut about there. Looks good, right? Zoom out, alternate to zoom out using the magnification tool. Alright, so we have this and that. So I can actually select all, Control B to break it apart. We're gonna fill that color in. So using my paint bucket tool, fill it in. Use my selection tool to select that. Oh, before we do that, do we have that? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna delete all that because that's the top part. And we'll delete all that. And to blend it nicely, we'll just do that. Alright, so that is fin, lower leg. Cool, let's go out. So there. So we have upper leg, lower leg. Alright, and finally the feet. F8, fin, front, feet dash R dash 01. It should be here, so I'll just say that's where the registration should be. Hit OK. Cool. And I think we're good, except we haven't done this part, the left side, because they are still groups. So you can approach this a couple of ways. If you like to duplicate, because you already did the job, you already have all that symbol, you can actually just duplicate it. So why don't we do that? But before we do that, I'm gonna select everything here. I'll tell you why. I'm gonna Control C and copy. I'm gonna create a new layer by clicking that. We'll just say this is temporary, right? We'll hide this. So in the temporary layer, make sure you select it. You Control Shift V, so you get that. Why? Well, I just want to make sure that it is, it sits on the right spot. So I'm gonna break it apart, Control B, again, until you get the lowest level. And we'll just Control G that to group it. So we have that, but we want to lock it. And because this is a temp, I'll just put it down here. Okay, we're gonna show that layer again where we trace everything. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm gonna delete all that, but we still have it because this is actually the one underneath. Delete all that, but we still have the one underneath. Yeah. So this layer is just all of the drawings converted to symbol, and we're gonna duplicate and we're gonna align it nicely using that as a guide. And to differentiate things, maybe it's also a good idea to actually turn it into an outline. So with the temp one, I'm gonna click that so it turns into an outline. See, the purple one is that? It's an outline. If you unhide this, see, everything's an outline here. So let's do that. We are going to select all that, all this, yeah, and hold Control Shift, select all that as well. Alright, so we're gonna copy that down to the other side. I hold Alternate, and if you drag, you get a copy by just holding Alternate on your keyboard. I'm gonna undo. Why? Because I want to hold Alternate, click and drag, but I want it to go in a straight line. So I hold Shift so that it stays on the straight line. Yeah? So what do I want to do with this? I want to flip it. In Animate, I'm pretty sure there is a way to do it. You go to right mouse button, transform, and you say flip horizontal, and it immediately flips. But if you cannot find this in Flash, you will need to use the transform window, which is located here. So using this, you can actually, here in scale horizontal, you can enter the value of negative. So -100 flips it. Alright? So that, or if there is that button, you can also flip it. So I can click this button and it flips the thing as well. Alright, so that's in Flash, but there's many ways to do it. You can right mouse button and find the transform, and you can flip it as well. Okay, anyway, so we're here. It's already been flipped. It's just it's not aligned nicely to our that layer. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select those, all that. We are going to use our arrow keys to align it nicely. Alright. So let's just turn that into an outline as well, so that we can be sure that it is aligning. So that looks okay. The arms, that may be a bit off because it depends on how, because the previous one was basically, the one in purple underneath, that one wasn't a duplicate, so I actually drew it to follow the reference underneath here. See that it's following the reference. So we can forget about the reference, we can forget about the previous one. So we'll say that seems okay. Let's zoom out. Yeah, it seems okay. We can use that. Alright, here comes the final part. Everything's not in the right order. So we gotta kind of arrange things so that they all is at the right position. Like what should be showing through should be at the top. So I'm gonna select all that, right mouse button, arrange and send it, bring it to the front. So that should be at the top. That backpack should be behind, but I actually want to select all that. Right mouse button, send it backward. And the arm here should be sent to the back, like that. So we're gonna do the same thing here. Right mouse button, we'll just send it to the back, and then we'll say the arms, you go to the back as well. Alright, now comes the legs and feet. So I'll select all that, arrange, send it to the back. Add looks odd, so this feet, right mouse button, arrange, send it to the back. Alright, that looks about right, isn't it? Alright, so this is all good. I'm gonna pause. In the next video, I will actually teach you how to make sure the registration is correct. So see you in the next one. Bye bye.